but differ in terms of character. Islamic universalism is more theoretical, cosmopolitan, dialogic, while Islamic nativism is practical in character. Okay, next. According to Gus Dur, Islam is a universal religion in which Islamic values are objective of Islamic law. Of Islamic universalism is reflected in the existence of 5 that are fundamentally existed in humans. The first, the guarantee of human safety from physically action outside the provision of the law. The second, the assurance of individual religious beliefs without coercion to convert. Third, the assurance of family and heredity. The idea of nations, but both were considered to have overlapping areas of relationship. Religion comes from revelation and has its own norms, and it tends to be permanent. While culture comes from human, in accordance with human life, culture fluctuates in point of indigenous Islam is tolerant, respect each other, and do not force each own perception to other. Third, respect to the tradition. So this is also very important because recently some of the people were learn Islam tend to be literally mostly blame the previous tradition of, for example, tradition of certain regions. They feel like that the tradition is totally wrong, and then they feel like they have the better one, something like that. And then the fourth, progressive, that is by changing religious practices, is assumed that Islam accepts the progressive aspect. Also about the practices Islam itself, the teaching also will followed by the development of era. Moreover, right now the digital era, here is the principle that we have discussed. What kind of problem politics, religion, humanity in overcoming that problem, we have to. Nativism of Islam is an effort of how normative values of Islam itself are accommodated.
Oke, terima kasih kepada semua para peserta. Perlu diketahui bahwa barusan ada konfirmasi dari Ibu Maulinda bahwa beliau tidak bisa melakukan rekaman video atau videonya masih ada gangguan. Maka ini adalah presentasi terakhir yang ada pada kesempatan kali ini sebelum kita masuk pada acara inti, yaitu Internasional Fikrah Annual Conference. Maka sebagai satu presentator terakhir, yaitu Ibu Maudi, ya. Mohon konfirmasinya apakah masih di Ibu Mundi, apakah masih di Zoom meeting? Halo, Ibu Mundi. Oh, oke. Iya, terima kasih. Baik, ini sebagai salah satu presentator terakhir yang ada pada acara kali ini, kepada Ibu Mundi saya persilakan.
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya share screen ya.
Baik, Bu.
Share screen.
Enggak dari situ.
Tolong saya diberi akses untuk share screen. Oke.
Sebelumnya. Ya. Oh, sudah. Mohon maaf, ini waktunya 10 menit ya Bu, karena nanti jam 12.30 kita akan memulai acara inti. Oke, terima kasih.
Bentar ya. Baik, paper saya berjudul The Discourse of Islamophobia in Indonesian Popular Movie. The title of the movie is Mencari Hilal. This is the abstract that I have written down in the paper. So what I am talking about is that this movie is a popular movie. This is 2015 released, and it is directed by Ismail Basbet. This is a very interesting, very good movie that you can watch in Indonesian context. So I have some argument, some reasons why I choose this topic. The first is, what is Islamophobia? Islamophobia is hatred and fear of Muslim. And I want to discuss the hatred and the fear of Muslim in popular culture or in film. Mostly in the literature of Islamophobia, those who are often discussing about Islamophobia, many studies that have discussed it, mostly in the Western context. So it is interesting from my perspective that Islamophobia is not only happen in the Western context, it also happen in Muslim-dominated countries like Indonesia. So this is interesting because mostly when we are talking about Islamophobia are in Western, where the Muslim are minority, so they suffer from the discrimination and Islamophobic attitude. So here I want to discuss the Indonesian context of Islamophobia, and it is represented in popular culture or movie. Research questions. There are two. The first is, how is the discourse of Islamophobia represented in the film? And number two is, what is the ideology represented in the film? So this paper discusses this film as the object of study and by having the paradigm of cultural studies and focusing on the discourse of Islamophobia. So the perspective of cultural studies here is specifically using the critical discourse analysis. And critical discourse analysis that I apply in this paper is Fairclough discourse analysis. It covers the micro, meso, and macro level of analysis. And this film, it is directed by Ismail Basbet, released in 2015, and it narrates the main character, Pak Mahmud, and Heli. Heli is Pak Mahmud's son. The plot of this film is that Pak Mahmud is, when he was young, he was a santri. So now he is in his old age, above 60 years old, and he had a very strong mission in his life, is that he wants to find out the Hilal. So that's why the title of this movie is Mencari Hilal. And in finding out the Hilal, that is the thing that when he was young, he usually find out the Hilal before Idul Fitri. So when he was young in his pesantren, it was a very strong, memorable experience for Mr. Mahmud, so that in his old age now, he wants to return to do the same thing. And it is, for him, it is a very important mission. And because he is old enough, so his son, Heli, has to accompany him. This is the way Mr. Mahmud is looking for the hill that he usually find the Hilal. It is not easy journey, because he has to find out the place that is now different from when he was in a young age. And in his journey, he finds many things. He finds his old friends in a kampung life, and he finds out people, how do they build their solid community, brotherhood. But he also find out many different unexpected things, like this one. He found out Muslim groups, tradition, who still celebrating the Idul Fitri Eve by having gunungan and extra. And he also find out that there is a radical groups, the groups that usually dismiss the other people's religion gathering. Kelompok radikal yang suka sweeping, suka melakukan misinya dengan kekerasan. So, what I found here in these films is that there is subtle Islamophobia in the movie. Subtle means yang tidak terlalu kentara, tidak terlalu kelihatan, yang halus. Islamophobia itu muncul dengan cara yang halus. Seperti tadi, contoh yang foto, gambar yang terakhir tadi. Nah, saya merinci ada, paling tidak ada 4 subtle Islamophobia yang muncul dalam film ini. Yang pertama, Pak Mahmud neighbors, tetangga-tetangganya Pak Mahmud. They hated the Islamic institution because of they think the Islamic institution did the corruption. In that context, there was news that Kementerian Agama used so much money to make decision on the Hilal. So people hate the Islamic institution. The second, Heli's hatred of the radical group. The third, Heli is unable to accept his father's mission. For Heli, his father is so unbelievable. He is so he could not accept why just to find out the Hilal he has to do so much effort. And the last thing is Pak Mahmud's unable to accept Heli's way of life, and he called his son is a liberal group. Then, okay, the conclusion is that the film in a very interesting way, present the contestation, prejudice, hatred, unable to accept each other among different group of Muslims. And the film provides the space for negotiation among the groups. So the groups that I found out in this film is that the fundamentalist group. The fundamentalist group is represented by Mr. Mahmud, and the radical groups, and the traditional groups, and the liberal group represented by Heli, Pak Mahmud's neighbor. This film is ended with a compromising between Pak Mahmud and his son. So there is a kind of compromising because Pak Mahmud could not by himself do his mission without the help of Heli. And Heli at last also compromised to Pak Mahmud because he realized that Pak Mahmud is his father and he respect and love him at last. Okay, so that's the conclusion of the paper. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Ibu Dr. Mundi atas presentasinya. Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, dengan presentasi dari Ibu Mundi barusan, maka plenary session pada kesempatan kali ini juga berakhir. Tetapi Bapak Ibu jangan